Jacolien is from the English for Educational Development Program, and she's been engaged with various e-learning activities or blended learning activities. She's made use of Google Drive, Turnitin, eCanva, and today she's going to speak a little bit about the Turnitin platform. Thank you so much.
Narina's trying to buy time because my tutors are meant to be here and they're running a bit late. But I'm going to do their thingy right at the end and hopefully it'll work. Okay, so this semester is the first time ever that I've used weighted rubrics on Turnitin. I don't know if anybody else uses weighted rubrics on Turnitin. Does anybody use the rubrics in the first place? I have one person, probably I should have known it would be you. Anyway, so before this semester, we only really used Turnitin for the ease of the electronic only submission and obviously for the similarity reports because we're meant to teach students how to use sources properly. So we do it in a very non-punitive way. But then I saw the function and I was like, okay, maybe we can try it. And I must say it really has reduced the marking time. So for me, that specific function is something that for a writing intensive module like mine, which is academic literacy / humanities for science students. It reduces your marking time a lot for your poor, underpaid, overworked tutors. And I think it could also possibly be something that you can use to introduce more writing tasks for modules that don't have them now, precisely because it cuts down on the marking time. Okay, does anybody use hard copy rubrics? Like, can I just get a show of hands? I just want to see. You're better people than I am because I never used rubrics until this semester. I found the hard copy one so clunky, so laborious that it was just too much of an effort. So I used to only have like a checklist as an editing / planning tool for my students, but I don't actually have to use a rubric. So it was a lot of work to actually set it up as well in the beginning, but Marcus had lots of input and I must say it worked really, really well. And we first tested it after we set the rubric up. A marker marked a batch of, the example I'm going to use is the research report proposal. So they marked a batch that they graded in the first semester without the rubric, and then they marked them with the rubric. And the marks were really like closely in line. I was actually surprised by that. It was like the one that was out the most was by 5%, but most of them were about within 3% of the first semester mark, so which was great. It does throw a bit of a spanner in the works in terms of committee marking because the rubrics on Turnitin and everybody uses my login to get in there. So we just use an Excel sheet that has the same calculations and we use that so we can compare our marks. So student feedback for this was so I only asked 3 questions for this semester. So between agree and strongly agree, when they asked whether it was fair, 83% of them said it was fair. I have a suspicion I know why it's so low because one tutor who had several groups didn't actually use the rubric consistently. The second question was clear and easy to understand, and then I think for the first time we're running it, I'm pretty happy with the student feedback. And if my tutors show up in time, they will also tell you that their experience of using the rubric was positive. Okay, so I'm gonna log in quickly. Definitely not cap locks. How much time do I have? 6 minutes. Okay, then I'm just gonna attach the rubric, which I have to rename. There's one very annoying thing when it comes to this, and it's that you can't delete, hide, or archive any rubrics on Turnitin. So every one that you upload and you used it stays there. So I have this whole long list of rubrics that are kind of named the same thing because I was playing around. So I'm telling you this now so that you don't do the same thing. And even the one that I'm going to do now. Okay, so I created a fake class. So where you add the rubric is in the settings. So in your optional extra settings, so you'll see if you scroll down pretty far down, you'll see launch rubric form manager. So So I'm not going to show you how to import it now, but it's really straightforward. Well, I can maybe just show you that. So you'll see there's a little thingy that says view import export options. Then you say I want to import a rubric, and then it gives you a template that you can download, and it tells you all the specifications that you have to stick to. And then once you have that, you literally just upload it. You set the weightings. How do I get out of here now? There we go. You can set the weightings and everything once you've imported it. Okay, anyway, so I'm just gonna attach one that I've already. I did test this, so I didn't. You know how it is when you have to do something in front of people, like when you're in front of a lecture class and you're like, I suddenly can't remember how to use PowerPoint. It's kind of like that. Anyway, okay, so Narina has an assignment. We use this when we have the InfoLit lecture, so that students learn how to activate their Turnitin account, they learn how to upload a file, they learn how to access the feedback. So this is Narina's proposal, which is just a copy paste of everything in the rubric. Anyway, so when you click then on grade, then you go to the little rubric icon over there. So all the little blocks, you click on name, and then the rubric pops up. So you can expand it and you can see the whole thing, but I mean all my tutors have hard copies of this, so they have, if this ever loads. So you can see the whole thing, you can see all the weighting, everything is there. But it is best to kind of have a hard copy with you. Even though it does show you, say, here, let me just make that a little bit. So for formatting, if all the formatting is correct, it's 100% exceptional, and it gives you the descriptions here as well. So as you move the cursor thingy, it will also show you exactly what you're selecting. So it's really easy to use. So every time you select, this big again. So we're just gonna give Narina really good marks for everything. She's such an excellent student anyway, so we know. So you can see every time I make a selection, it is calculating the mark, right? Which is like magic when you do it the first time, and you're just like, saves me so much time. Anyway, so you can decide how many criterions you want. You can decide like how many scales you want. You can decide like how much, what the steps are. All of that. That's all those decisions are up to you. So you can see that the automatically calculated mark then is 90.4. Good job, Marina. And then you can apply it directly to the grade, but we tend to like, what's the word? Around up and down, right? So at the top, this is where you enter the mark, so we're rounding this down to 90. Turnitin can be really like stupid sometimes, especially if a lot of the tutors are logged in. So my advice is once you've entered the mark, click somewhere else and wait for like 5 seconds, because otherwise it might not actually record the mark, and we export the marks from Turnitin as well as an Excel sheet, which means that the tutors don't have to read it in. It's another way that saves you a lot of time. I'm sure you can see I'm a very practically minded person. See, and then the grade shows up there as 90%. So it really, it works really well. The feedback from the students, it was really very positive. I see one of my tutors, this is amazing, made it just in time, and he's going to tell you about his experience of using the rubric. So this is Marvin, one of my tutors. You came in just in time.
Sorry for my lateness. Okay. Afternoon everyone, I'm Marvin, Rater, 5 minutes, yeah. So I'm just going to show how easy this is actually made.
I showed them already.
Oh,
you should tell them.
Okay, cool. As someone who hasn't ever really marked in his life, and I've been exposed to a lot of marking over the years, teachers and whatnot, this is the easiest thing I've ever seen, because it literally you just drag and drop, and the one thing is that you can see much more closely how students compare to each other when you look at the rubric instead of just assigning marks randomly, like this is how much you get for content. So it allows for a much more structured way to look at students' results. And the main thing for me is just, you can go through 5 papers in 2 hours where it would take you 5 hours normally, because it's just, you read, you check, it's there. So all in all, that's all I have to say actually.
I know one thing that Marvin commented on, because we all work together when we put the rubrics together. There was a lot of like, how much do we assign for this particular thingy? And something that we figured out as we were doing the committee marking is that the rubric keeps you honest in terms of not over-rewarding students for style. When something looks really great, the language is great, it's very well structured, but the substance isn't actually there. So the rubric kind of kept us honest in that aspect, because we weighted the content much more than we did the language and the style. So then when you use the rubric, you're like, whoa, I would have given this a higher mark, but for reasons not actually related to the content.
So yeah, there was also, it's what I think most people know it as marker bias. So the way where something looks better in the one instance, and then because this one is somewhat worse, the mark goes down by a considerable amount. So like Jacolien said, it keeps you very honest, because once again you can compare, you can see, look, this is what I gave marks for here, this is what I gave marks for here, and then easily see, instead of, look, this one wrote a bit better, but is the content there? And for this one, the style is non-existent, but the content is at least there. So you can much easily juggle that kind of distinction between, am I actually giving it for what it looks like, but the fact that I like reading it, or is it actually worth the mark? And the rubric allows for that vision, which makes it a lot more fun. Yeah.
And you don't have to page through all the lookable rubrics and then sit with them. You can very easily access it. So that's it.
Thank you.